All right, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome into Fresh Takes with Russo and Felice. I am Paul Russo. Across from me, not across from me. He is behind me, as always. The man,
not as always.
The man. Now it's as always. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Nick Felice. Nick, happy Thursday. How you doing?
Doing good, Paul. Just got a new haircut.
You're looking fresh, man.
Yeah, this morning, probably about 10 minutes ago. But shout out to Hair Teak.
I'll tell you, you're looking pretty good over there, man.
Not bad, thanks, man. What's his name? Josh Berry. How about him at Richmond?
Almost, yeah.
Second place.
It would have been chaos. We'll touch on that, obviously, as
Paul was there.
We're going for that. But, yeah, we college basketball, the NBA playoffs, mainly your Knicks, Nick. Locked in. They already know who they're playing, so we'll touch on that a little bit. And then, we'll recap me down in Richmond. So we'll be looking at another full slate, as always, here. So, but first, as always, March Madness concludes. Yep. UConn defeats San Diego State, take home their 5th title in 25 years. And that's all 5 in 25 years. What a run. And that's with 3 different coaches, right? Calhoun, to Kevin Ollie, and now Dan Hurley. It's weird because, to me, I don't know if they get the full respect they deserve every now and then. And I think now a lot of people are finally probably starting to realize that, and this is something that I want to table for a moment here, but how good and consistent they usually are, especially in our lifetimes, right? I mean, all their championships in the past 25 years.
Yeah.
That's a number that, I believe the only success rate better than that's like UCLA. And that's only because of back in, the 60s and 70s. So it's quite the accomplishment for really the program as a whole, and let alone really, and we can touch on it, but like I mentioned, back at the start of the tournament, right, there were people mumbling, if Dan Hurley was the right guy for the job, and clearly he is and was. And
we put him on the hot seat.
Yeah. But, what are your thoughts on it?
They're definitely a blue blood. When you really think about it, because they haven't even made the Sweet 16 since 2014's championship. Right. I haven't really thought about them lately. And, when you really think about it, they were blue blood before this tournament. So it's not, it kind of it definitely, because this was a crazy tournament, tons of madness. We had 3 teams that never been to the Final Four in the Final Four, and UConn wins it all. It kind of takes away the whole madness, and be like, okay, at least some big name did still end up winning this tournament, even though a lot of them went out early. So it's 5 in 25 years is very impressive. They're not just a women's basketball school. This is also men's. When you think of UConn, you think of women's basketball because of all the 11 championships that they have. But this is also the men's team. I think a couple of those men's championships, UConn was going to the Final Four every year, so they were getting both programs to the Final Four at the same time. So
yeah,
and so I think they're kind of they're overshadowed by the women's team, and they're overshadowed by these other schools like Kentucky and Duke and North Carolina, and we just got to realize that this is one of the best programs in college basketball is UConn, and sure they went a while. It's been 9 years since they even made the Sweet 16, but they proved it this tournament, and we predicted it. We said UConn, San Diego State in the championship. Last week's podcast, not the beginning, and we got it right. So good for us.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take a little bit of the bait here because, and I don't know if it's just maybe the bias or regionally type thing here, and this kind of bleeds into the next talking point I do want to talk about, maybe UConn and college basketball as a whole, but. You mentioned right that this was their first Sweet 16 appearance, let alone since 14, but. I don't see them getting overshadowed by Duke or UNC or Kentucky, really. at this point, I hold UConn in a bit of a higher regard than those other programs at this point, personally speaking. And, you know, a lot of it maybe has to do at this point with this resurgence of the new quote-unquote Big East. And, you know, UConn obviously from the old Big East, even though they had to stop over in the American here for a little bit. But I look at it like this, frankly, and, you know, I think, you know, because you brought it up, but we'll bring this discussion point up first now, is they are a blue blood at this point. I don't see a way that maybe they weren't anyway in the first place, but you win a 5th title in a 25-year span. It's nuts. No other team has been able to do that in this stretch in that point, you know. And look, I look at it like this too. Like, what players are you producing out of your program at this point? You know, UConn has pretty good NBA pedigree at this point. Not to say that Duke or UNC or Kentucky doesn't, but, like, the players that come out of there, do they have prolongated NBA careers? Not really, not anymore. I mean, sure, you have, like, your Zellers kind of poking through every now and then. You know, the occasional Plum Lee and stuff like that. But, look, you'll get UConn, like a guy like Jeremy Lamb has kind of resurrected himself, right? Kemba had a great run. Health kind of derailed that. But to me, anyway, and this is going to be the really interesting point here that if people will ever really do the deep dive on here. Like, UNC has Michael Jordan, for example, right? Who does Duke have that kind of rivals that? No one. You know, that's not a slight. I don't want to make it a slight on, say, Grant Hill or players like that, but frankly, Duke does not have that. Okay? UConn has a transcendent guy in Ray Allen. Obviously not to the level of Michael Jordan, but Ray Allen, up until, you know, recently, was the all-time three-point scorer. Really evolved the game to a point where he was, you know, not even a shooter, a true three-point shooter at the start of his career, right? I mean, the guy was in dunk contests and then transitioned over. So that's the kind of way I look at this at this point, is look at the product as well at the next level. And UConn really exceeds a lot of checkpoints that a lot of these other programs that we want to put up there on that pedestal, they just don't do, at least not anymore. I don't know. For a moment, though, do want to talk about San Diego State. A really good program. They'll be back next year. They're going to be bringing back a lot. Brian Dutcher, it got pounded in the ground. The discussion points about how a lot of people saw him as a career assistant. Finally got a shot, you know, once Steve Fisher retired, but what a great job by him to kind of bring this program back from really what was going to be a high point in 2020. Yeah. Pandemic caused that, had to restructure a little bit, and now they're back, and I don't see them going anywhere. It's going to be interesting. I've heard rumors and I've seen rumors that San Diego State will be a part of or a potential part of the restructured Pac-12, so I think it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens there. But what a season for the Aztecs. Like I said, they'll be back again next year, I'd imagine.
Yeah, there's some people that was saying that people like 10 years from now is going to forget about this championship game between UConn and San Diego State.
It was ranked pretty good, viewership-wise.
Yeah. Thought the Final Four game, the first one, was pretty good. FAU, San Diego State. You know, San Diego State hitting that shot to win the game. I mean, San Diego State's got to prove it. I mean, they got to make people remember this game. Make people remember that this was the start of San Diego State's dominance as a program, to try to be continuing to be. They don't want to just have this one Final Four, one championship game. They want to get back to the Final Four and eventually win it. So, and in today's college basketball, you can do that. Anybody can win a national championship, I feel like, in college basketball right now. You put together a veteran team, a team that's very experienced-wise in the tournament. and you can do a lot. And I feel like we're going to see more upsets. I think a 15 seeds becoming over 2 is becoming a regular occurrence, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think we said this last week, but 16 seeds, they're going to win more than they usually do. It's still going to be rare because these are small schools taking on the big dogs. So we'll see what happens. But San Diego State, great season. It's just UConn was just. I mean, they blew everyone out. I mean, they beat them by 10 points, everybody, and I think that was the first time since Villanova, 2018, to do that. So they were just they proved everyone wrong this year, San Diego State, with making the championship game. They just could not get past UConn.
Let's jump into that quick though before we transition to the women's championship game. I'm kind of going to go. I'll go here on the record and kind of just say I don't see there being Power 5 anymore in college basketball, only because of the point you bring up. I thought this was proof that this year I consider the Big East to be the quote unquote sixth power conference, if you want to go with that anyway. But and I'd probably put them above a number of those other ones within that power structure if you want to keep it that way. I'm not. You bring up a good point, and we talked about it a lot here the past month and a half, 2 months, where college basketball, there's just so much parity. Everybody's closer than they have been before. Sure, I will allow the conversations, right, of your blue bloods for the most part to still be the ones, quote unquote, in control, if you will. But even then, it's tough to I guess visualize in a way, like going forward, them really still having that stranglehold, right? And even look within, say, the conferences like in ACC, right? Miami, right? Just they aren't known for basketball. They're known for like football and baseball from the sporting element, and yet here they are, the best sport that they've had going now for past handful to 10 seasons has been basketball, and now they're clearly
and their women's basketball team.
That's actually what I was about to say, was like both programs are either on the rise or there, depending on how you want to look at it. So I'm intrigued to see, because like all this is coming to a head anyway, but I'm intrigued to see how the structure fully plays out here with that. So I don't know. It's and of course, all of it's dependent on football, and and I just want to thank your Notre Dame Fighting Irish for being the cog in that machine to keep that thing from rolling along. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, right? Because I kind of teased it right a little bit just now with saying that the one thing that I've been seeing a lot of steam pick up is like San Diego State, like it might be the next Pac-12 team coming in. And whether or not that happens, who knows, right? I mean, you have FAU. If you want to go further, they're going from the CUSA to the American next year.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack, but that just, to me, it backs up my point of I don't see how there's Power Fives anymore in that sense. So.
Yeah, the conference realignment, I just am not liking it at all. It just continues to happen, and I don't know what's going to happen in college football. It goes to this two-conference thing eventually. That's what they say they're going to go to. I don't know what's going to happen to these other sports, but
yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting. Do you want to spend a few minutes here because the women's title game ended up being really awesome, and I was not able to watch live. It caught me off guard that it was being played at 3:30 in the afternoon on Sunday, but I don't know if they just didn't want to put it in Sunday Night Baseball or something, but I would have probably watched that Sunday night after I got back to the hotel from the race over Sunday Night Baseball. But I was able to we were able to catch kind of, everything in a replay and everything like that. But LSU gets to win, kind of a thrilling stuff there. There's a lot to unpack within this game. And I know, the regulars around here is like, you guys hardly ever discuss women's college basketball. But it's interesting here because there is a lot to unpack, and we'll get to, I think, what everybody wants and has been talking about, right, with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. But LSU is an interesting program. I should probably do a little bit of a brief history here. Louisiana as a state has a really interesting history within women's basketball. Louisiana Tech was kind of the first, I wouldn't say first dynasty, but like they really were one of the key teams and programs to kind of get women's basketball off the ground in the 80s. And Kim Mulkey, the head coach of LSU, was on those teams. And I think that's where I really want to take this off first. Is where does she rank all time now at this point? She's the first women's coach to win national championships at multiple programs, Baylor, LSU. Some of that, Gino obviously has never done. Some that Pat Summitt never has done, obviously, Don Staley. So it's interesting because I think a lot of people's introduction to Kim Mulkey through the years, and mine as well back in the day, was her really, I'll call it exuberance, right? Whether style or the way she acts. I mean, we saw in the title game itself, her, and I don't know if she grabbed the official intentionally in the way that some people think, but you have the wardrobe choices as well, so it's weird. But in terms of the women's college coaching game, I mean, she's got to be Mount Rushmore at this point in my mind. I just what she's been able to do, and kind of, to be fair, the prominence that she's been able to do it with at this point. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting there. So were you able to watch live, Nick, at all? Or?
Yeah, I watched it actually.
Yeah.
I didn't really think much of the ending there. It's just a little trash talk. I didn't really think too much about that. I mean, is it extreme trash talk? I don't know. I mean, you see it all the time in sports. So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything personal between the two sides or the two teams or the two players. I don't know that. I have not looked into that or followed any of that. But it's just a little trash talk. Caitlin Clark doesn't have a ring and Angel Reese does. So that wasn't too much. I didn't think too much of that. I mean, I think it blew up in the media a little bit, but LSU should really be thanking Iowa, because I think if LSU plays South Carolina in the championship game, I don't think they win, because I think they probably played them twice, if not 3 times. South Carolina was undefeated. I think they would have known how to beat LSU, and it's just matchup wise, I think LSU matched up better with Iowa than they do South Carolina. So in a way, Iowa beating South Carolina helped LSU win this championship. And then you mentioned the coach there for LSU. Yeah, she's definitely up there. I mean, it's tough because women's basketball, it's hard to judge because there's probably tons of great women's basketball coaches, but it's hard to judge them because they haven't won national titles because of UConn and Tennessee back in the day. They were winning all the titles. So it's just there's so many great coaches in college basketball, whether it's men's or women's, just tons that have never won anything. They haven't won a championship, haven't been in a Final Four, but are considered great coaches because it's not easy. I mean, you're talking about winning 6 straight games in any sport is impossible. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's hard to. It's like, okay, New York Yankees go out there and win 6 straight games at the biggest moments of the season against the best teams. So it's really hard to do. So it's hard to judge people off of how many championships they have. And this LSU coach, she has a championship with LSU and Baylor. So that should definitely put her on the Mount Rushmore of coaches for women's basketball. And it's just, there's a lot of great coaches that just don't get a lot of recognition. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of teased it there a little bit, but yeah, the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese thing. Look, Caitlin Clark has been doing that all year, so I think a lot of it's just people. Frankly, I think it's the way people just kind of operate now. They're trying to find a thing to nitpick on somebody, and because it's just not the way they look or the way they feel. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, I'm a proponent of the whole entire violence sells types thing anyway in sports, and I thought it was great. You know, if you can't take it, don't dish it. You know, and Kaylin Clark seems to be perfectly fine that it happens. So it's kind of already passed. I mean, obviously, you know, we come here on Thursday to discuss it, and it's already kind of worked itself through outside of a few, you know, older heads kind of want to still really discuss it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. To me, it's like a moot point. It's a non-talk point, you know, but like I said, Kaylin's able to dish it and take it, so I don't see a problem with it. Same with Angel Reese, and, you know, apparently the ones who can't take it are, you know, the ones who are still posting about it on Facebook, you know. So I don't know. To me, it's great. I think this helps honestly grow women's basketball even more in women's sports because you need the figures like this to be able to do it. You know, like I said, you gotta. I'm not saying, you know, any PR is bad PR type thing or anything like that, but stuff like this, you know, people get talking about it, right? I mean, like I said, even though it's gone quiet, there's still some rumblings about it. So I'm all for it. More trash talk, more whatever.
People love rivalries, and now LSU and Iowa is a rivalry. So I think it's good for the sport. To be honest with you,
Who would have thought Iowa and
LSU. Yeah, rivalry.
Yeah. All right, let's transition over, Nick. NBA playoffs on deck. The NBA is in their final weekend of games coming up here for the regular season. And there's going to be a lot of chaos, and we can touch on that in a minute. But we need to celebrate your New York Knicks officially locked in, and they already know who they're playing. They're going to be taking on the Cavaliers. How about that?
In Cleveland.
What do you mean in Cleveland? In MSG2.
After Game 3.
The Garden will be rocking.
Yes. I'm actually looking forward to it. It was 2 years ago. We had the 4 seed, and the Hawks had the 5 seed. And it's a lot of pressure going at home. I mean, sure, you got the home court, but it's a lot of pressure to start with home. There's really no pressure. Knicks just go in there and try to win one game in Cleveland, and all of a sudden they are in control of the series. And if they somehow win 2 games, you're in full control of the series. So, yeah, I'm happy they got back. I mean, let's face it. Last year they didn't have a point guard. They had Alec Burks playing point guard. And Jalen Brunson not getting an MVP. He's not going to be getting any MVP votes this year, but I think he is definitely should be considered. I really do. He's changed this entire team around. He's made Julius Randle better. He's made Quickly better. I mean, the whole team's just. Josh Hart's been a great addition. I got to give a shout out to the front office. I thought they were a bunch of goofballs just sitting up there in their box seats, but you know, they've actually done a pretty good job. I think if Dallas could stay around this 10 pick, we get the Dallas pick because of the Jalen Brunson deal. I mean, things are looking up right now. And if we can win a playoff series, then this whole season was a success. I think if they don't win this series against Cleveland, it was a good season, good building season, but to be a success, I think we got to win this series and get to the conference semifinals. So looking forward to it. I mean, as a Knicks fan, been pretty loyal since the year 2005. I have seen 4 or 5. This will be my 6th playoff series that I have seen. So far, they are 1-4. And they've only won a grand total of 8 games. You're supposed to win 16 to win a championship, Paul. I've seen them win 8 playoff games since I've been a fan. We're hoping to change something this year. Let's see what Russo team's going to get in the playoffs as well before the play-in. Is it going to be the Nets or the Heat? That's still yet to be decided this week.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be decided across the board. It's going to be an exciting final weekend. The Knicks, though, with the Cavs. How do you feel about the Cavs? Because the Cavs are number 1 on defense and number 7 on offense, and they're kind of regarded as they probably won't make, you know, any noise per se, but you can't take them lightly. I mean, those are numbers that teams have won championships with, you know?
They're very young.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'll say, I know I'm very biased towards the Knicks and stuff like that, but the only thing I'll say, who on that Cavs team has playoff experience other than Donovan Mitchell?
Chetty Osman.
Yeah. He won the championship? Did he win the championship?
I think he was like their extreme young man.
Because this would be their first playoff series since they won the championship in 2016. Yeah. I think so. They made the play-in last year. Didn't work out for them.
No, 17. They had that last year with LeBron.
Yeah, 17. Yeah. They're a good young team. I respect them. I do. I like the matchup. I think we can go in there and beat them because we beat them 3 out of 4 times. I know that doesn't mean anything. I mean, we could go back to 2013. Your Heat lost all 4 games to the Nets that year. And they go and I think they beat them in 5 in the conference semifinals, if I remember correctly. And that's who had Paul Pierce, KG, and all them that year. So it really doesn't. I mean, you can take what you want from regular season series, but this is we're restart. You know, we're both 0-0. It's a new game. Sure, you got the experience of playing the team, so you know how to face them. But I think it's gonna be a great series. I think wouldn't be surprised if it goes 6 or 7. But obviously not rooting for that. Obviously, I'm hoping it goes 4 and we get out of there and we move on. Because we both know, Knicks and the Cavs know the Bucks are waiting on the other side. Sure, maybe the Hawks can win a game, but it's most likely going to be the Bucks in the conference finals, who in my opinion, thinks is the biggest threat to win the NBA championship this year. Mm-hmm. And don't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll tell you right now. Knicks, Cavs, Bucks. Winner out of that side of the bracket is going to the NBA Finals. I'm telling you right now. The winner out of that side of the bracket is going to the NBA Finals. And I'll give you a little bit of love. I think if the Heat can make a run, they can get out. I'm not buying the Celtics, and I'm not buying the Sixers. But I think if the Heat can get through the other side, you never know. They can maybe make it.
I respectfully like what you're saying, but on the Heat front, but it ain't gonna happen.
I know they've been playing inconsistent, but man, they're scary. I know the Celtics would not want to play them. If I was the Celtics, I wouldn't want to play them in the first round.
No, I know who the Heat want in the first round, to be quite honest. Philly.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to get them.
Yeah.
They have to get that 6.
Yeah. So. It's going to be exciting. I mean, the West is crazy right now. They're all vying for position, so it will be exciting. All right, before we get out here, let's recap, I guess, my trip to Richmond. Saw, it was exciting. Pretty good weekend. I've said to a few people, it's what the track needed race-wise. It was a good race on Sunday, but the action all weekend was really good. The Xfinity race was great. I saw my first ever modified race, and that was really exciting. And by the way, I don't know if many people know this, but there's a guy from Ontario that races in the modified series full time. Ontario Nick, as in where Wayne is. So that'll be interesting to see. I forget his name off the top of my head though, which is bad. Maybe I can.
Wayne Central.
Correct.
Ontario.
What are you doing? What are you doing with the mic? People can hear that. But yeah, busted. Anyway.
There's also a town called Wayne too.
Yes, down in Yates County.
Wayne, New York.
Let me look it up quick here.
Are we a bigger
Theater of the Mind is going on right now.
Ontario, New York. Only been there a couple times.
Here we go. Tommy Catalano.
Tommy.
Yeah, he ran good, and then I think he had a mechanical issue, so he looked really good, and then that was pretty exciting to see. That 20-year-old kid won. And by the way, this guy, I'm not going to remember his name at all, only because I know I didn't search it. There's a kid that runs in the modified, Nick, from Hummelstown.
Oh,
Yeah, how about that? So,
Hometown, PA. Shout out Justin Kiefer.
Yeah, so a couple different connections here for us, but it was a really great week. It was about as packed as I've seen Richmond ever since I've been going down there in 2017. Busy. The Midway was very busy this year as well, which was good to see.
How many?
It was needed. It was needed for the track, I'd say.
How many times have you seen Kyle Larson win?
Oh, wow.
Every time.
You want to know what's wild is he might have the most wins now I've been to it in person. Now that I'm thinking about it. I'd have to go back and actually,
He won Watkins 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah. And
He won the Watkins Xfinity Series, too.
he won Richmond here. And the first Richmond race I went to in 2017, he won as well. So he's got me up there now. He might be number one now that I'm thinking about it, which is wild to think about, to be honest with you. But
And he just came on the scene just a few years.
well,
Winning scene. The winning scene.
well, sure-ish. I mean, he won his first stuff in 2017 at the Cup level, and I guess he's really taken off from there. But yeah, I mean,
So how do you feel about Richmond? They gonna win the Premier League?
I don't know. But I think it's positive, and I think more importantly, the short track package was good. But now there's a lot of talk about taking the cars back to a night race, and since the racing has looked good, so I think it's a big plus all around for Richmond, I'd say. Plus, we had some action in front of us. Denny Hamlin dumped J.J. Yale, so that was pretty exciting.
JJ, yes, another tough one.
Yeah, it'll happen. So, all right, that will do it then for Fresh Takes for today. Nick, who are you shouting out today? Now, I know you didn't have any gifts today. By the way, I do want to do a shout out to Remy Rips for that really awesome stuff. Waiting for my head to get another card box off Amazon, so that's in the mail, and hopefully we'll get to ripping a few more packs here shortly anyway. So
All right.
really appreciate that. So Nick, back over to you. Who are you shouting out?
I'll shout out Colin Dombeck today.
Oh,
It's his birthday, I saw.
happy birthday.
Tomorrow?
Oh,
Tomorrow is his
well,
birthday.
happy future birthday.
Yeah, he's a big golf guy. You know, Masters this week. And, yeah, so shout out Colin. Happy birthday tomorrow. And let's go Tiger Woods.
All right. How about that, man? All right, everybody. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And we will be back next Thursday for Fresh Takes.